Welcome back, everyone. This is Rob from Revelation Rain, doing a different kind of video today, but I wanted to put some new material up on our Revelation Rain YouTube channel. Just a quick update. We've taken time off from doing shows. In fact, this video is going to be a reaction to the last show that we played for 2022, and that was September 10th in Port Huron. It was a festival called BridgeFest. We're taking the rest of this year off from doing shows and probably a good portion of early 2023 as well, because we're going to focus on, and what we've been doing is writing material for the next record, which is going to be titled The Dead in Christ. So we'll be writing right up until probably February, March of 2023, and then hit the studio shortly thereafter, and hopefully be back out playing shows by early to mid summer. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot of stuff in the works right now. I can't get into all of it, but just know that there's a lot of stuff that will be coming your way very, very soon. So today, I'm going to react to the show that we did at BridgeFest. And I'm going to divide it up into two parts. I think we did 6 songs. And so each video, there'll be 2 of them, will cover 3 songs that we did. So 2022 has been a very tumultuous year for Revelation Rain. There was a major lineup change. And then a second major lineup change. The second one resulted in Grant, the original drummer, and I getting back together, reforming the original Revelation Rain. Unfortunately, our original bassist, Marty, and our original lead guitarist, JT, were not interested in rejoining the band, and that's perfectly fine. No hard feelings, no ill will toward either of them. Great guys, great musicians. So we did not want to cancel the show in Port Huron. So what Grant and I did is we just found 2 guys that could step in, fill in. They're not members of the band. We haven't found a permanent bassist nor a permanent lead guitarist yet. That's also part of why we're on hiatus. We need to find 2 guys to round out the lineup. So anyway, we found 2 guys that could fill in for us so that we didn't have to cancel the show. So we got Josh, who's a good friend of mine, who actually was in a band with Grant and I prior to Revelation Rain called Last Asylum. He stepped in on bass. And then Tony from the band Fearless stepped in on lead guitar and some backing vocals. These guys had less than 2 weeks to learn 6 songs, all of the arrangements, the guitar parts, the bass parts, and backing vocals when they could. And Tony had some of the backing vocals down, not all of them, but that's not his fault by any means. It was a lot to learn in 2 weeks. So every so often you hear him chime in on backing vocals, but for the most part, it was all on me to as far as vocals. And yeah, 4 days prior to us doing this show, I had just recovered from a very bad cold. I got a cold the Friday prior to the show, and it lasted all the way until about Monday. So a good 4 days, I was pretty well down and out. And I felt well enough to do the show. It would take a lot for any of us to cancel a show. So I felt that I was well enough to do the show. As you'll see, one, it was very hot that day. So that was detrimental in its own right. 2, I did not give myself enough time to recover. And with as much movement and running around the stage that I do, fatigue set in really quickly. And typically that does not happen. We've played 1 hour, we've played 2 hour shows before, and I will go through a 2 hour show, no problem. But because of that cold, it left me weakened. Fatigue set in, and wow, it by the end of the show, I could barely walk, and I was out of breath, and I felt very ill again. Third, having coming off a cold, obviously the vocal cords were not yet ready to do that kind of uh, performance. I could talk just fine, but there's not a whole lot of exertion and energy in just talking. When you sing, anyone that sings, there's a whole lot more effort and a whole lot more strength and exertion that goes into that. And yeah, I started off good, but by the first chorus of the first song, I knew I was in trouble. And you'll hear it. I'll pause when we get there. But yeah, it was tough to get through the show. But despite all of that, it was a great show. One, because I was reunited with my buddy Grant. Two, anytime that we're playing a show and we're in front of people and we're taking our music and our message to people, that's a great day. Absolutely. So it was a great show, a lot of fun, and we met a lot of great people, made some good connections, and we got to evangelize with electric guitars and drums, and that's what we're all about. So I'm going to pull that video up, and here we go. Hopefully you can see that. It might pop on here once I start the video itself. I will pause every so often just to give you some commentary. But here we go, BridgeFest 2022. Really quickly, before we get too much farther into the song, two things. One, when we were setting up, the sound guy noticed that I was bringing our fog machine onto the stage. And it's not a typical fog machine. This one is set up to where it shoots straight up, first of all. And secondly, the way the LED lights work, it will look like a flame rather than just fog. And given that we're playing during the day, and this is what the sound man said, he said, "Are you sure you're going to even need that? No one will see it." And I said, "Yeah, we're still going to use it. It'll be visible, maybe not as well as if it were dark, but it will be seen, and this is part of our show, and we don't go out there unless we can do our full show." So we have the fog machine. You can see the fog coming out. It's not lit up the way we had hoped, but it's okay. Throughout the show, you'll see that it still looks really cool at certain points during the show. Secondly, the sound man did not have Tony's guitar turned up loud enough. I think about midway through the show, it comes up a little bit, but not enough. So you can barely hear Tony's guitar, which is unfortunate because he's a phenomenal lead guitarist. But anyway, here we go. And this is the first song, and this is Holy. And right there, as soon as I hit that line, "You're my God," I felt the change in my throat. I knew that it was still suffering from the effects of that cold. And from here, it's very, very raspy, almost like I'm trying to sound like Rod Stewart. But that was not the intent at all. But from here, I knew, and I'm not letting on, but in my mind right here, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a tough show to get through. And I was just praying that I would be able to get through it. You can see here, I'm not playing my guitar, and you can't hear Tony at all. Again, which is unfortunate because he's a great lead guitar player, a great rhythm player, and obviously it sounds blank, it sounds empty without a guitar playing here. I stopped playing because I wanted to see if it was just me or if it was the house mix uh, uh, that I couldn't hear Tony's guitar. I wasn't sure if it was just I couldn't hear it because I'm hard of hearing, or if it was even through the house mix that nobody was hearing it. And unfortunately, it was the latter that was true. You can barely hear Tony's guitar, but if you really listen for it, you can hear it, and you can hear just what an awesome solo he's playing. Also, I'm moving my mic stand, if you notice, closer to that monitor, which would be to, as you're looking at the screen, to the right of my mic stand. For whatever reason, the sound man could not or would not run my in-ear monitors for me. As I mentioned before, I'm very hard of hearing. That's why I use in-ear monitors, and this monitor was not doing me any good. The vocal mix really needed to come up in that monitor, but every time he would try to turn it up, we'd get a bunch of feedback. So I go back to he should have just hooked up my in-ear monitor. It would have made it so much easier. But such is life. It was so nice being on stage with Grant again. His drum parts are classic. They fit the song perfectly. He spends a lot of time on those drum parts. And I know his drum parts so well because I love them so much. You can see I'm synchronizing my stage movements to his drums. I know exactly what he's going to do next. And I synchronize my movements to that. And it was just great to be able to do that again. Now, this festival, by the way, was a Christian music festival. So every band playing at this festival uh, was a Christian band. And if you notice in front of the stage, there's a smaller stage and there's a keyboard and a keyboard stool set up there. That was the smaller stage that was for solo artists. And there was a gal that played after us. She was phenomenal. She played on that smaller stage because she was a solo artist. We stuck around for a while to watch some of the other bands, but like I said, I was completely exhausted, fatigued, and not feeling well, so I didn't stay very long. Uh, but the bands that I saw afterwards, they came after us, and the few that came before us were all great, but none of them were doing the kind of show that we were doing. And it's funny because after we were done, the young lady went up there to play the keyboard and do her set, which was really good. And the first thing she said was, my performance is going to be nothing like what you just saw. And it was just funny because that's what we hear consistently from other bands and from people who come to see our show. In this, you have to remember, is a stripped down version of our show. Had we had more time and had we had appropriate lighting, and if it were inside and or if it was dark out, you would see our full show on display, which is uh, not to be conceited, but far and above most other local bands. But here we go. You'll see Holy Ends, and we've always done this. We always play the next song, which is Tears on the Wall. We always play that second just because it's so intense and it takes a lot of energy to play it vocally and on the drums. You'll see Grant's playing on this. It's phenomenal. But we always go from Holy right into Tears on the Wall. See there, Tony chimed in on that backing vocal, which was great. Unfortunately, I think he told me he had all the backing vocals memorized, especially for this song. And then once we got up there and started playing, his mind went blank. And so every now and again, he'll step up to the mic and you can see he's just like, I have no idea what's coming next. So I tried to cover the backing vocals as well, but that could be pretty taxing. But he tried. But again, without having the usual backing vocals that we would have, it just doesn't have the same full sound. But again, no complaints. Again, you can see I cut out because I'm trying to figure out if the sound guy is ever going to bring up Tony's guitar. So I can hear it on stage because Tony's amp is up there, so I can barely hear it through his amp. So I know he's playing, but I'm just wondering if the mix, the front of house mix, is if his guitar is loud enough in that front of house mix. And apparently, obviously, it isn't because I've cut out and you still can't hear any guitar. Now, I don't know if you've been watching. Hopefully, every so often you're watching what Grant is doing on the drums, especially during the verses, and you can see just how physically taxing this song is for the drummer, for Grant. But he pulls it off like a champ. But you can see that's why we do it song number 2. We wouldn't want to start off with it because it's a lot to jump into. You need a song to warm up with. Plus, Holy is always one of our opening songs anyway. But also, you wouldn't want to do it later in the set because by that time you'd be too fatigued to be able to pull it off appropriately. I've been asked by a number of people why I'm not wearing the red leather duster that I started wearing around the time that we released our second album, Day of the Lord. Instead, I've returned to the black waiter's jacket, sparkly waiter's jacket that I used at the tail end of our Vengeance is Mine tour, and then I even use it for the Day of the Lord photo sessions. Maybe even for the first couple of shows on the Day of the Lord tour. But I always try, and as a band, we always try to update our look, our image with each album. Okay. So why am I not wearing the red leather duster? Well, one, it was way too hot outside. And I remember last year in 2021, we played a show in Tustin, and I think it was in July. And it was hot and humid. It was an outdoor show, and I wore that leather duster. And by the time we got to the end of our first set, I honestly thought I was going to pass out. I was completely dehydrated and sweating buckets, and I thought I was just going to pass out because it was just too warm. Now, whenever we do inside shows, I would wear that leather duster because usually it was climate controlled. Okay. This show here was outside. It's in September, but it was still a very warm September. It was September 10th. It was hot and it was humid. There was no way, with everything else that was going on with me, I was going to even try to wear that leather duster. That's the first reason. Reason number 2 is I returned to this look for a few of our shows in 2022 because we are, like I said, heading into the next record, the Dead in Christ. I played a few shows with this Vengeance is Mine look, and once we do the photo sessions for the Dead in Christ and go on tour for the Dead in Christ, we're going to have a whole new look. We're going to have a whole new stage set. So I've got a new outfit already picked out. It's going to be unlike anything that I've done before. I shouldn't say that. It's going to be similar in some ways, obviously, because it's Revelation Rain. But it's not going to be what you see here, and it's not going to be what you see during the Day of the Lord tour with the red leather duster. All of the band guys will have a new look, and we'll have a new stage look, and we're really looking forward to that. So there we go, to answer the question for those of you who have asked. Look at Grant on the drums. Phenomenal. I just want to say, Josh actually came on board to fill in right around the same time that Tony did. So I'd sent material to Tony and Josh, and then we actually did one rehearsal before this show. And like I said, these guys picked up on this stuff really quickly. 6 songs in 2 weeks uh, is really good, considering that both of them have full-time jobs and other stuff going on. Josh plays in a band at church, and Tony is the main guy in Fearless. So they had other stuff going on, and yet they were still able to learn these 6 songs. I want to say Josh's bass playing um, is exactly what these songs call for. He has a unique style that locks in very nicely with what Grant is doing, and you need that. You need your rhythm section to be locked in like that. Bass and drums have to lock in like that. So kudos to Josh, who didn't have to alter his style at all. His style just fits perfectly with what these songs are doing. So phenomenal bass player, phenomenal lead guitarist, and a phenomenal drummer. Man, this was a great, great show. His guitar has finally come up some in the mix. You can hear his guitar solo really, I shouldn't say really well, but a lot better than in the previous song. And you can see what a great guitar player he is. Now, Fearless is a band that you should check out, first of all, but their style of music isn't totally different than ours, but it is a different style of playing, a different style of metal. Okay. And Tony was able to adapt to our style. I mean, he played to our songs. He didn't try to come in and play Fearless type riffs over our songs. It wouldn't have meshed very well. So kudos to him as well for adapting to our style. And I think the next song we're going to go into is Taste of Tomorrow. You'll see at the end of this, I walk over to Grant, and then the rest of it's kind of edited out until you get into Taste of Tomorrow. But I was over there telling Grant, we got to cut a couple of songs. Originally, we were going to do 7 or 8. The next song would have been Days of the Week. Is a really challenging song to sing, and I knew I couldn't do it. My voice was already getting more and more fried as we went along, but also the amount of energy it takes to sing that song in particular, I would have passed out trying to sing it. So you'll see that as we head into Taste of Tomorrow. And you can see the fog. It's cool.
Thank you. And we got a song for you now. This one's called Taste of Tomorrow.
You can see Grant has taken his headpiece off. It was just too warm. I don't know if it fell off or if he intentionally just threw it off there, but it had to be warm having that on. It was exceptionally warm that day. And even in my in this jacket, I was sweating like crazy. You'll see that when we get to part 2, when I make that video. It almost sounds like Tony's guitar has disappeared again. I don't understand what the sound guy was doing. It seemed like he had brought Tony's guitar up in the mix about halfway through Tears on the Wall, and now here we are in Taste of Tomorrow, and I can barely hear his guitar again. I don't get it. It seems like, and I don't mean this as a slight toward anyone, but it seems like more times than not, the shows that we play, we always end up with a sound guy that just either doesn't know what he's doing, it's his first time doing it, or he's tone deaf. I don't know what, but it just seems like a lot of times we've been plagued with sound men that just are not up to par. So I think when we go out on the next tour, we're going to hire and bring our own sound man because it's just frustrating dealing with this kind of stuff. You can't hear in the monitors, you can't hear the lead guitar. Trust me, if you're a musician and you're on stage, all those things matter, and it can be really frustrating if the mix is not there. You can hear my voice is getting more and more fried. You see me shake my head there. I'm just thinking to myself, like, how am I going to get through this song and through the rest of the set? Uh, it's getting harder to sing. And not only that, it's actually starting to physically hurt to sing. And the last thing any vocalist wants to do is permanently do damage to the vocal cords. And so I'm trying not to sing at full potential, but at the same time, you want it to sound, somewhat like the record. It was just really hard, but we got through it. And look, it wasn't just me. All of us were up there. It was the first time that Grant and I had played a show together in 5 or 6 months. It's the first time I've played a show with Josh in 2 years. And it's the first time ever playing a show with Tony. And like I said, it was crunch time, but we made it there. And I thought, for all things considered, I thought it sounded great. I thought we were just on point. And so no complaints. And again, with everything that was going on, all I could really think about the big picture was I'm on stage again in front of some great people. We're celebrating God. Excuse me. I'm with my buddy Grant again. I got Josh and Tony who are filling in and doing a phenomenal job. It's good. It's great to be alive. That's really what the big picture was. I think the reason why we can hear Tony's leads but not rhythm, obviously, most lead guitarists will click into a lead guitar channel, and maybe that just plays a little bit louder, and that's why we're able to hear. But just listen if you can to his solo; it's fantastic. See the fog. It's awesome. I love when Grant does that. It's those accents, and he does that consistently. during this part of the song, and I'm actually missing my cue because usually I'm doing a particular movement during those crashes, and I don't know if I had I just forgot to do it, something going on, or if I just didn't have the energy at that point. Or, and here's the other thing you have to remember, as great as Josh and Tony were doing, they're new. They've only had 2 weeks to prepare. So really, it's falling on me to hold down the fort. So I'm making sure that I'm playing my guitar parts and not taking any breaks, hardly. Um, and you'll see at the end of the song, there's a part that we go into, and Tony kind of looks lost for a minute. He forgot what that part was, and so I jump in, and then he gets it. But that's why I'm not doing as much movement as I usually do, because I'm the one that's holding down the fort here. Typically speaking, if we would have had our full original lineup, Marty and particularly JT would have been holding down the fort, especially on guitar. JT would have filled all those parts, and gives me a little more leniency to cut out when I need to, and run and jump and do the things that I do. I love the cymbal grabs. Right here, Tony forgot to go into the part that we done earlier, so then I jump in to kind of cover until he gets it, and then I cut back out. And then at the very end of this, I do this Taste of Tomorrow, and I kind of it's something that it's an extended note that I hold. I did the best that I could. I obviously can do better and have done better, but I think it's okay, all things considered.
A taste of tomorrow.
And right there, I went back and told Grant, like, I think I said something like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the rest of this set. But Grant, of course, is great and encouraging. Is like, you can do it, brother. You got it, buddy. And so that, that added encouragement. And plus, you've got all those people out there in front of you. And yeah, you dig deep and you make it work. But anyway, guys, I'm going to stop here. This is the midway point. There's 3 more songs. I'll do that in a part 2. But I hope that you've enjoyed, one, watching this video, the music, the concert video, but also just some commentary and some inside information, some insight as to what was happening and going on surrounding the show. I just want to keep some fresh material up on the YouTube channel until we have the new record done. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, we'll have some more videos coming your way soon. You guys, let me go ahead and move that. All right, you guys. Hey, speaking of which, this guitar right here, as you can see in this video, I'm playing my purple shattered glass Ibanez Iceman. And I have 3 of those. I have the purple one, I have a silvery sparkle one, and then I have a classic black. And I've been favoring that purple one for quite some time, but every so often I'll play this one right here. I used it on both records. It's got a really killer tone, a heavier tone, so I would use it a lot to double the guitars on the recordings. But I have played it at a couple of shows. Great looking guitar, plays really well. The only issue I have with it is it's very neck heavy. So if you let go for more than like 3 or 4 seconds, the neck will hit the floor. So anyway, why did I throw that in there? I have no idea. Anyway, because I wanted to talk about that guitar. And you can see here, Vengeance is Mine. That's our first album, pressed to vinyl. And here's the other thing, guys. Go to our website, revelationrain.net. Revelationrain.net. Check out all the new stuff. I got new pictures up there, new videos, the news, everything that's happening with the band. There's merchandise you can go there and buy, such as Vengeance is Mine on vinyl or on CD. Day of the Lord, which is on CD. We've got all kinds of stuff that you can buy. Look, all of that stuff, anyone that's in a band, all of that stuff helps to support the band. It helps us to make new records, buy new outfits, put on a great show, and be able to travel to and from our shows. All right, guys. So to you guys, thank you again for watching. Take care, and God bless.